I don't want to hide anything. I don't want for anybody to feel like they have to hide anything. Like I felt like this was kind of my way of giving back to the community the best way that I could, because I am very open and I'm very vocal about my recovery. And I love to hear stories of people who've come from very deep, dark places and have made it into, something amazing, have like years clean that they never even thought that they can have days.
You're listening to the Recover Yourself podcast, and that was Alyssa of Raw Recovery Talk. Hi, I'm your host, MartinJon, and I reached out to Alyssa because of her 6 years clean and sober, of course, but it was the awareness she expressed on her Raw Recovery Talk videos that really showed me she would be open to having real deep conversation and pushing herself. That's exactly what happened. We talked about her Red Bull energy drink needs, her codependency, her relationship with shopping, all sorts of stuff. You see, addiction doesn't always have to be killing us, literally, in order to be taking our lives away from us. Listen to the end for a chance to win free portrait session with me for following, rating, and reviewing this show on your preferred podcast app. So, Alyssa, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us.
Of course, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, yeah. So first of all, like, you're in active recovery, right? Like, so, yes. And how much time do you have?
I guess like 5.5 years. It'll be coming up on 6 years. My clean date is January 1st.
Okay. Wow, January 1st. Look at you. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
So did you go out on the last day of I don't know, 6 years ago, and was just like, this is it for me, and like went out on a bang?
Yeah, because I was actually sober for a little bit, not much, and then I relapsed pretty hard. I'm gonna say it was pretty hard just because at that point I just didn't care. I was just like, what's the point? Like, I'm just drinking. I was drinking like early in the morning, and then I think that I was at a party. It was at a New Year's party, and it was just so like, it was boring for me. Like, I'm sitting there literally with a drink in my hand, and I was just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I was like, this is it, last one. I didn't even finish the drink. I just put it down.
Nice.
I was like, I have to take this more serious than I was taking it before.
And that, like, that's the same sort of thing that happened to me with the idea of like moving from recovering from to this idea of recovering to, having that as a demarcation where it was like, wait, I got to take this more seriously because I have to be the focus now. How much time did you have before your relapse?
It was like, I'm going to say like just a few months.
Okay. Yeah, but that's, for a lot of us, myself and you included, it sounds like relapse was part of recovery, as they say. So, Raw Recovery Talk, what was the impetus to start that, and what do you see it as? And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I've actually been working in the field for longer than I've been clean, which I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Edit that out. No,
I talk about it in some of my videos just because I feel like I have to be honest about it. Just because you're working in the field, and I feel really bad because a lot of people who are just getting clean, they're like, I want to be an addiction counselor, and I'm like, yeah, I hear you. Just be a little bit careful, But I worked in the field and I was doing outpatient.
Mm-hmm.
It was very demanding, and it's a very stressful situation, and almost everybody I knew that was in recovery ended up relapsing at one point or another. So I was jumping from job to job because I just felt like I was not supported. Either I was told that I had to be quiet about my recovery, or, keep stuff to a minimum because they say, this is not about your recovery. This is about other people's recovery. And I'm like, yeah, but being in recovery, like, it's always nice to hear somebody actually doing it. You feel like there's no way to come out of it once you feel like deep into it. And because I had a lot of patients and I was very understanding, they put me in intensive. So I was running like the 3-hour groups 3 to 5 times a week. Mm-hmm. And I was really in the middle, like I was with people who were still struggling.
Right.
And so I ended up working at a new job, and even though it was more family based, I was working with an addictions counselor for one of my clients, and she really upset me one day, because I didn't give my background because I felt like I didn't have to, it was like new job, I wanted new responsibilities. I didn't want for people to keep on looking at me as just like the addiction counselor.
Right.
because I felt like I was very stuck with that. Um, so we had this client that we would discuss, and she was having a bad day, the other counselor, and she came back to me and she was like, oh, well, you pretty much, you don't even know how to do your job and all this. And I was like, what? Like, I was just like so confused. I felt so lost. And it
Yeah.
was like all my years of schooling and all my years of being clean. I was driving home and I was thinking, and actually, Macklemore, I have some of his songs on my phone, and I just put it on shuffle, and his song came on, and there was just something about the song that, like, it all hit me at once. I was like, I want to make an Instagram. Well, I wanted to start pretty much with a YouTube, but my Instagram has really picked up. And so what I wanted mostly was for people to be able to share their story, and it's called Raw Recovery Talk because of that. Like, I don't want to hide anything. I don't want for anybody to feel like they have to hide anything. Like, I feel like when I chose to work in the field, it was like, I'm going to help as best as I can, but then feeling very restricted, I felt like this was kind of my way of giving back to the community the best way that I could, because I am very open and I'm very vocal about my recovery. And I love to hear stories of people who've come from very deep, dark places and have made it into, something amazing, have like years clean that they never even thought that they can have days.
Right. Right. Right.
So pretty
So,
much that's what that is.
yeah, and I'm super interested in that because, like, I'm also interested in not being quiet about being on the other side, right? Like, now that you're clean, like, there's still shit going on, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
not it's not like, oh, like I was in this deep dark place, but now, like, now that I'm living a life, right? Like, I have more responsibility. I got more things I got to do, but I still have those addictive qualities that pop up, right? And we have to look at those, and as recovering addicts, we have a whole slew of tools in our toolbox that we can utilize. And one of the big things that I always like to talk about is, like, where are your real struggles today?
So my biggest struggle, which has always been a struggle, but it's always been, I don't know how to explain it, but it's always been that thing that kind of comes back to haunt me. Is definitely codependency, which I haven't been able to make a video on my YouTube yet, just because it's very difficult and it's I don't know where it's coming from.
Hmm.
But I had an issue about 2 weeks ago where I was able to talk to my cousin about it, and she's actually younger than me. But she gave me a lot of insight. Like, our family has a lot of, it's called like intergenerational trauma.
Mm,
So it's things that they never recovered from. So they, put it on to me.
right.
And like, one thing that was always a problem is I always felt very different. I felt like it can't be it. Like, my life can't be me being angry, being miserable all the time, always yelling at people and always feeling like I'm right and there's no way that anybody else can understand where I'm coming from. And I definitely tried to hide all of that, like all those feelings, in the drugs and alcohol.
Hmm.
Um, and I was actually misdiagnosed with a lot of things. Like, I was diagnosed with bipolar, which I'm not. Um, I was diagnosed, well, I mean, somebody diagnosed me with depression. I don't really consider
Di-
that.
Diagnoses are not for us, right? They're for the
Yeah,
people that want to treat us and want to treat us like we are diagnoses,
yeah,
right?
like, it's
Like,
like a one size fit all, and it was like, it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Definitely one thing that I am is very anxious. I'm very, like, I can be at a meeting and the whole table will be shaking, and it's because my leg is going, like, just go,
yeah.
like, breathing is going. Um, so like, that's definitely my biggest problem, is the fact that I didn't even know to separate, like, the codependency in my family. And that led to very codependent relationships, like, with other people's friends and partners.
Hmm.
And I mean, I was married before. That just didn't end up well. I had a serious relationship after that. That was even worse. It was like really bad. And I'm in a relationship now, and I have kids, and it's constantly like, where is that level of I care for you versus, you know, I need to care for whatever reason. And that is something that's like always been a problem. And I definitely feel like that it comes with the addiction.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Um, in terms of that, like, how long have you known codependency to be an issue for you?
Honestly, and it's like to me it's funny, but I was like doing a group. Like I said, I ran IOP, so I had to
Right.
really like push myself to find things to do.
Right.
And codependency is always, whenever I would be like, today we're going to talk about codependency, everybody would be like, oh my God, like nobody cared. Everyone
Right.
was so over it. But as I was like, I would go onto Pinterest and I would find like random things to like print out and share with the group. And I'm like reading through it one day and I was like, dang, like that sounds just like me. And it was like, it was crazy to me that I was supposed to be, you know, the one leading the group. And like here I am having this revelation about myself, you
Right.
know. So it wasn't that long ago. It really wasn't. And I was in a very codependent, very unhealthy relationship at the time. And it took me a
Mm.
while to get out of it. So this is my first relationship where I'm very aware of it, but there still is like definitely that issue of like, okay, am I doing the right thing or am I not doing the right thing? And my and within my family, codependency is just it's the norm. Like my mom was raised that way, so she kind of like molded my dad to be a certain, which sounds terrible,
No, no,
but
no, no, no. That's how, like that's how relationships go very often, like it's
yeah.
just like, oh, well, you're going to be what I want you to be. And if
Hmm.
you want me in your life, then you got to do that.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely, I'm gonna say that's my biggest problem, like above the drinking and the drugging. That was like that was a big problem because you know relationships are always there, like especially the relationship that I'm supposed to have with my family, you know, the relationship that I'm supposed to be modeling for my own family, like my immediate family, my partner, my children.
Mm,
um and like I'm sober, you know, I am clean
right.
and sober, and here I am still questioning constantly, like, is this the right thing? Am I doing this for me, or am I doing it because I think that, you know, this is what we need or what you need?
Right, right, right. What outside of being like the codependency during your sober or during your recovery time, what other sorts of addictions did you find popping up that you had to deal with or are still dealing with?
I mean, I had an issue with gambling for a little bit.
Me too.
I
Yep,
was
that was
spending
fun.
like $20 like every time I would walk into a deli for scratch offs.
Oh,
Like it was
all right.
so random, and I felt like, you know, it wasn't real gambling because I wasn't going to the casino, or I wasn't,
Mm,
you know, it was so unrealistic for people to get the same number every single day. So I was like, it's no big deal. Yeah, so that was a problem. I'm not gonna say hoarding because I'm not like a hoarder, but like I
but
very much felt like I needed certain things. You know, it was like because I didn't feel good emotionally, I felt like I needed something to fill that void.
yeah,
So I was like shop excessively. And when I'm anxious, I do shop. But I mean, I try and stay aware of it
yeah.
because I don't want to like spend a crazy amount of money on stuff that's completely unnecessary.
Well, I mean, shopping is going to be the next big addiction on the list. So, you know, when you notice that you're shopping, how does that like take me through that thought process?
Um, so like say I get paid, right? And then I'll like immediately pay my bills, and then I'll tell myself, okay, only $100 on really what's needed.
Hmm.
And then I'll walk into any like any store, literally pick one. I will walk into it and I'll just be like, oh, we need this. Like, you know,
Mm,
the kids need this sweater, or like this pair of shoes would be so cute. Or, you know, I always wanted this video game and it's on sale.
Mm-hmm.
Like my accessories, like my phones, always a problem.
Mm.
Literally, always. I always want phone. I want an iPad. I want a laptop. Like, and I have to talk myself through it. Like, is this something I really need? Like, and
Yeah.
do I have the excess money to buy it? Or am I going to be struggling for the next, even if it's a week?
Right. And those are big questions, like when we go through those like comments in our mind of the kids need this, right? We talk ourselves into this place where we are then faced with um our own children versus our addiction. How are you going to not purchase that thing that you just stated out loud or in your mind that like I my kids need this? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like you're going to be a bad mom if you don't get this, and you're playing into
Yeah.
the addictive mindset that
Yeah.
that's been set.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like one time I went shopping and I got they were cute. They definitely were cute. And I was like so excited. I was like, oh my God, look at these. Like they're so adorable.
What
And
is
then
it?
it was just like there's these twins on Instagram and they have a clothing line in Target. So I was like so excited. And I didn't even realize how much they were. So when I went home and I looked at the receipt and I said, these things were $30 each. Like, and I got two.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not happening. And then when I went to return it, it just so happened that my debit card didn't go through as debit. It went through as credit. I had to wait 7 days. So that really that stopped me. And I said, I can't, like, who knows? Anything could have happened. Like my car could have broke down or one time I was driving and my tire busted and I needed a new tire. And now those are expensive. And I just kept on
Mm.
thinking to myself, like, what if that would have happened and it would have cost, exactly that amount or even a little bit more? And I don't have it because I bought two dresses, like
Right,
two
right.
dresses. It definitely made me feel even worse than saying, oh, this is cute. And I think they want it. I think they would look cute in it. I was just like, what kind of mom would I be for that?
Right. I
Yeah. So
mean,
like, I think about it. Like when I go to the store now, I'm like, okay, like I told myself $40, like that I could do, that we can handle,
right.
and I'll stick to it.
But not for one dress, right? Like
No, 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 no. Never for just one dress again.
Right,
Sorry.
yeah. But utilizing
Mm.
today and like how you see the world today as a baseline, when did you start thinking the way you're thinking today?
Um, I mean, I'm gonna say it happened fairly quick for me just because of my job.
Okay.
Because I felt very responsible for other people but because my first job, I felt like I didn't have a lot of guidance. So when I was going into like other jobs and I felt myself very much like asking questions to my clients, I would kind of ask myself the same thing.
Right.
Like what do I feel about that? How would I feel if such and such thing happened? Like if I went to a party and there was drugs and alcohol, how would I respond to it? And then it got to a point where it was easy because like alcohol was a very big problem for me, but I would be able to go to parties where, people would be drinking and I didn't feel the need to kind of go and, hide.
Yeah.
And then now it's gotten to the point where literally people be like, oh, do you want to, drink? And I'm like, no, I'm clean. Like
Yeah.
clean and sober. Like, I'm good. Thank you. But go ahead, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, it's not easy to say no because a lot of people often take it as like, "Oh, are you judging me?" and be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like you
"No."
think you're better. And I'm like,
Yeah.
not at all.
Right.
And I feel like I'm very open now. Like before I did feel very, I'm not gonna say embarrassed, but it was something that I wasn't very open and very vocal about. But ever since I made Raw Recovery Talk, I made t-shirts.
Yeah.
And like one of my t-shirts says, ask me about my recovery.
Yeah,
So
I
there's
saw
no
that one.
place to
Yeah.
like hide, like people be like, how's your recovery? And I'll be like at work, completely forgot. I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh no, it's perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, you talk a lot about like this idea of like questioning where you're at, like what's going on? How is this moving forward? So what had to take place or can you name a time when you realized that you were different, like you were a different person than you used to be?
Um, yeah, you know what? Yeah. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I had an issue, when my last relationship, when I had to move back in with my parents,
Hmm.
um, to get away from the situation. And I was with my parents, and I don't know, my mom said something, whatever it was, and I was just like, I was like, I can't be around you right now because like your negativity is literally rubbing off on me, and like I just can't, like it's a bother.
Yeah.
And I never would have said anything like that. Like, because my mom has kind of built me to be very codependent on her, needing her for anything and everything. Like, I never would talk. Like, I would just be like, oh, you're annoying, or like, get away from me. But never anything that could actually make her consider who she is and the impact that she has on me. And actually, I even told her, I said, you should go to therapy. I was like, I'm not trying to be rude. Like, I don't mean it in any type of way besides the fact that maybe if somebody else told you. And I mean, I'm not very good, but I am a practicing Buddhist.
Okay.
So that was definitely like, when I started to take that more serious, and I was just like, this is amazing. Because I was so anti-religion.
Hmm.
I was like, what is anybody going to tell me? What can anybody, do for me or whatever? But like, as I've grown up, definitely matured in my emotional and mental well-being, I was like, it doesn't necessarily, nobody has to give to me. It's about what it is that I can give in return.
Hmm.
And, Buddhism was a very big part of that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What were some things that you didn't think would ever change about you that today you can't even believe they were part of your life?
Now I'm not sure. I hope that I'm more humble.
That's right.
I,
That's right.
I definitely hope so. If not, I do feel bad. I mean, I do catch myself sometimes. Like if somebody says something, I'm like, oh my God, you're annoying. Like definitely go somewhere with that. Like I feel like whenever I expect something from anything, from the universe, from other people, that's when like reality really comes and hits me in the back of the head, and they're like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like I started this page for that, for a voice, for other people to hear my story so that they felt comfortable to share their own story. And there are times where I do get very, I don't even know the word for it, but just, I don't know, not nice, I guess. And I have to like stop myself. And then, and then having to apologize. Like I feel bad when I have to apologize to anybody for being mean or speaking out of my turn. Or
Right. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I deal with the same thing, like, with so much time and with being someone that has worked on a lot of things. It's like just remembering that I still got more work to do
mm-hmm.
is sometimes a humbling experience. And that's actually
Yeah.
something that I've been working on recently, where it's just like, man, like I like to say I think clearly, even though I know I don't think completely
Mm-hmm.
clearly, right? Like I only think clearly enough until like I learn that I can think more clearly. And then I'm like, oh, good. Like I was
Yeah.
not thinking clearly at all. Bad. What other sorts of things do you see in your life that maybe you're not ready to look at? That is because I mean you're drinking a Red Bull, right? Like
Yeah.
let's I mean we could talk a little bit about that,
Yeah.
like what other sorts of like stimulants and other sorts of things are you putting in your life or bringing into your life that are helping you or aiding you in what I would like to consider awareness avoidance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely Red Bull. God, Red Bull Monster. I mean, I start my day with a cup of coffee. It's like, it has only gotten worse. And it's terrible. It really is terrible because I feel so groggy when I don't drink it. And I know, like, whenever people really want to mess with me, they're just like, oh, but have you had your cup of coffee? And I'm just
Right.
like, no. Like, give me a second. Let me go get it. And it's like, it's funny to the point where it's not like it really isn't funny because even when I would be running groups, like people would just be like, "Oh, Alyssa has her coffee," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I know, but it's but it's coffee, it's, but I do know it's bad. I do.
Well, it's not about it being bad. It's about it being a choice, right? Like I talk about this in my workshops a lot where it's like, did you have coffee today? And then I ask, did you make the choice to have coffee today? And everyone raises their hand and goes, yes. And I was like, now, think about when you actually made the choice to have coffee years ago. Did you make the choice today to have coffee, or are you just following that pattern?
Yeah.
And so that's, that's what that is. And I only bring that up because you're like, oh, I'm having a Red Bull. That okay? And I'm like, well, of course it's okay.
Yeah,
That's
because
just shit.
some people are not okay with it. They're just like, Red Bull.
No, I don't care. It's your body, sweetheart. Like, and I love you. Like, you do what you do, you, right? But I do want to. I did want to kind of, like. I mean, you host Raw Recovery Talk. Like, how much recovery do we have to do, right? And this is about recovering yourself, right? This is about, like, recovering that true voice inside you that doesn't rely on anybody else to take your codependency, that doesn't rely on anything to take you out of who you are because you're comfortable with who you are. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. And again, it doesn't sound like that's something that's going anywhere anytime soon. But I
wish. I really wish. I'm so tired of, having to rely on it, because it definitely is relying on it, because if not, I would be super tired by midday. And it definitely is annoying.
Well, that's how I ultimately quit smoking. It was this thing where it was like, no, I cannot continue to, like, when I left my house, I needed my keys and my lighter and cigarettes, right? I didn't need anything else. But, like, wouldn't it be nice just to leave with just your keys?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because I used to smoke too, so it definitely was like that. And I quit cold turkey. Like, I was just like, done. And with the coffee, I just I cannot stop.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just want to bring it up just because, yeah, I mean, we're gonna be raw, right? We're gonna talk about this, and we're gonna just be like, hey, look, we're all dealing with stuff, and I'm not trying, like, I don't try and stop anybody from using drugs. I don't just try and stop anybody from using alcohol. I don't want to stop anybody from drinking coffee or I don't care. Like, it's yours, but in this conversation, I want to address that, like, look, we're dependent on some things. We all are, right? It's not just us that are coming out of addiction and coming out of that. Like, we're all a little dependent on stuff. And, like, just being aware of it, puts us in another place.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for hanging out and chatting about all this, especially, because I can push a little bit. So I really appreciate you.
Oh, no, believe me, it is not a problem. I'm very open to going there.
Oh, good. I'm very glad. Good luck on your codependency stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
And when you're dealing with that, one thing at a time, right? Don't put your coffee down and then, like, start beating up your people.
Right?
Because that could be dangerous. Check out what Alyssa is doing with Raw Recovery Talk on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. All the links are in the description of this video. I have to say, it's so great to talk about awareness and growing into ourselves. And that is the point of what I want to do on this platform. I want to push myself and I want to push my guests because I want you to see that we are all not done. We'll never be done. It's a practice makes progress thing. And seeing and thinking clearly is something we can do more and clearer every day. But that process can only start when we start adding awareness to the choices we are making. I talk a lot about long-term recovery, but that's not always what I'm looking for. You see, what's most important to me is promoting this awareness mindset. It's about having an understanding that we grow, and yes, we do recover. But it's not limited to recovering from something because we're recovering ourselves out here. And that is the most important thing. I don't know what's right for you, and I'm not afraid about hearing what's right for you, even if it's not right for me. I'm out here recovering myself just so that I can let go and allow you to recover yourself in the way that you need to. Thanks again for listening to the Recover Yourself podcast. Please rate and review this show on your favorite podcast app. Do that and send me a screenshot through Instagram or my website, and I will select 10 people a month to do free 20-minute portrait sessions with. Donate and support this podcast so I can continue to bring you the best of what recovery has to offer. If you or someone you know has long-term recovery, or you're recovering yourselves in some way, let me know. We'll talk and see if you'd be a good fit for the show. I wish you the best in your journey, and until we talk again, keep recovering yourself.